Ulukai! Zonanikar! Zonguarta!
You guys want to keep it down? My head is splitting.
Ulukai, are you unhurt?
I think so, Dog, except my hearing's a bit out of whack.
I do not understand, Ulukai.
Ulukai? What's that, some egghead word for... Holy shit!
What is Egghead?
Outcast is an action-adventure game released in 1999. It featured a story and setting heavily inspired by a certain sci-fi film, and was known for its intricate world-building and novel take on open-world design. Something that really wouldn't be a thing until Grand Theft Auto 3 years later. Outcast had been lost to time, but it's had attempted revivals over the years after its Belgian developer, Appeal, bought the rights back. It first appeared on digital shelves like GOG and Steam around 2010. Then it got a remastered treatment in 2014 under the designation Outcast 1.1, and then a full-on HD remake on the Unity engine in 2017 called Outcast Second Contact. The only other game I can think of that's been remade again and again in the same fashion would be Baroque. I won't go too deep into the story of this game for a couple of reasons. First, the plot is intricate, but ultimately doesn't really do much but sit in the background until you've completed all of the tasks in a given area and gained a story beat. Also, unlike the other games I've covered, this game is readily available both online and on store shelves today. I'm hoping this video can convince some sales for either version. And when I say either version, I mean both 1.1 and Second Contact. For this video, I'm going to try something new. I played Outcast 1.1 blind for the most part, but looked up tips online whenever I was lost on how to progress. And then I used that knowledge to game my Second Contact run, to see how faithful Second Contact stays to the original Outcast. The game's opening introduces a cast of characters on a mission for the government to fix a broken probe, and it involves traveling to another dimension. You play as Cutter Slade, a former Navy SEAL stranded on the planet Adelpha. The natives of the planet, known as Talon, call him the Ulukai, a messiah-type figure who's supposed to save the Talon from the tyrant Bayran and his general Croax. You can spot some differences from the versions as early as here. The original Outcast opening cutscene was a well-rendered FMV, and it was impossible for me to record because it's actually an MKV file that the game runs whenever you start a new game. I could never get a good setting on OBS to capture it, so I copied the opening video from its Steam folder. In Second Contact, the same opening cutscene is done on slightly animated stills. It's got some visual flair here and there, but some shots actually do a worse job telling the story in Second Contact. Whereas the original Outcast wanted to wow the player with its stunning for the time cutscenes, this was made in '99. In Second Contact, you can tell it's a compromise by the developers, so they could focus their attention on other things. Another telltale sign that the remake was working on a budget is that they kept the same sound files from the original game.
This mission will be a snap, Commander. It's just a simple repair operation. What could go wrong? Well, let's count. I lost my crew, can't find the probe, my equipment is being used by the natives as rosary beads, and I have one backpack with my HK-P12 and 30 rounds of ammo. I believe that places this mission somewhere just south of Fubar.
They cleaned them up more in Second Contact, but you can feel the age of the voice work in the game. It's a good thing Cutter's VA did an amazing job. He nails that tone of a guy way out of his depth, but Mama ain't raised no quitter.
Oh, you are the Ulukai. Forgive me, I did not notice your symbol there.
How could you miss it? The way the soldiers react, you'd think it was the symbol for shoot me.
How are you?
Good, Ulukai. And yourself?
Beside the fact that I'm stuck in a parallel universe, not bad.
Outcast really wanted to make the player feel like a stranger in a strange land. At the start of the game, you're bombarded with a ton of new vocabulary to learn. Luckily, the Talon who saved you also managed to recover some of your gear, so you still have your starting pistol and your backpack. The backpack keeps track of your missions in every region, and a lexicon that adds new words you learn through dialogue. The most important words to learn from the beginning are Mon, Shamaz, Recreator, and Dauka. Mons are holy relics you need to collect to stop Bayran. How will they help you? No one knows, but it's in the prophecies. Shamaz are priests who spend most of their time doing Tai Chi. They'll help you find the Mons and heal you. Recreators are Talon working at forges. They'll help you by making ammo for your weapons if you give them the right ingredients. It sounds counterintuitive, but they won't be how you get your other weapons, even though they look like blacksmiths. You'll find those another way. Daukas are portals that let you travel between regions on Adelpha. They remind me of something, but I can't put my finger on it. You get used to hearing Feyran and Croax a lot as you progress in Outcast. Adelpha has 6 separate regions, and they all represent a specific biome. If you talk with the locals, they'll hint that Feyran and Croax's hunger for resources are the cause of all the ecological problems on Adelpha. Each area plays an important role in Feyran's infrastructure, and one of your long-term goals is to undermine them and win the hearts and minds of the Talon. Whenever you arrive at a new region, you have 2 objectives. You need to find the Mon, and you need to prove to the Talon that you really are their savior by solving the main crisis in each area. Finding the Mons are the main objective in the game. It's possible to do a run and make a break solely for the Mons without doing any of the side quests, but it makes the game a lot harder. Croax's forces are sturdy, have overwhelming numbers, and come strapped with some powerful weapons, and helping the Talon undermine the regime takes all of those advantages away. This is the first game I've played where progression isn't all about beefing up your character, but more about sabotaging the enemy forces so that they're in worse shape later down the line. The game's difficulty curve scales down as long as you're helping to liberate the people. Every area has their own set of personal problems that prevent them from organizing a resistance. Some are simple, like repairing a lighthouse, but some can branch off into multiple side quests where you need to satisfy 12 people before you can convince the townsfolk to resist. You'll learn as early as Talons are that you won't be able to solve every region in one go. Appeal did a great job giving all the Talon characters their own personality. Some come off really friendly and willing to help Cutter, and some are really self-absorbed and will only help Cutter once he jumps through some hoops for them. They don't feel like one monolithic group. Some Talon have rivalries and some have close bonds, and you get to see how intricate their social networks can get as you travel across Adelpha. So how does the game play? Let's look at a quick example. After you complete the training course in the starting area of Ranzar, you talk to the Shamaz who saved you in the opening, and you'll activate the Dauka to take you to the first real area of the game, Shamazar. I should point out now that you can game these tests early on by doing 3 of the 4 challenges before talking to the Shamaz's son, who is supposed to be your proctor. The 4th one needs him to be there because he tests you on the stealth mechanics, which I'll cover later along with combat. Once you arrive in Shamazar, a guide will give you the option to follow him to the nearby town. You can take up his offer or venture forth on your own. First-time players should go with a guide because the town is where you find all the basic amenities you'll need once you enter a new region. The Shamaz is there, along with the Recreator. Shamazar's quests are simple in comparison to the more intricate paths in later regions, but for first-time players, it can floor you how thorough the developers were with their quest design. You need to convince the Risk farmers to stop supplying food to Croax's troops. Doing so means convincing Mar, a very simple-minded Talon supervising the region, to stop Risk production. In order to win him over, you need to find the Essence Stone, a missing relic the soldiers took from the local shrine. You're told it might be held in the biggest temple of the area, which is dead center on the map, but there are a hell of a lot of soldiers there. All you have is your pistol, which sucks as a starting weapon. The magazine can barely hold 6 shots, and it takes forever to drop a standard patrol. The intended path is to work around the edges of the map and dispatch all the small patrols, so you can travel without any problems, and also take all of the ammo they're hoarding. Eventually, you're meant to assault the tower near the temple to take back the stone, but it turns out that stone is a fake made to trick the soldiers into thinking they have the relic. The Essence Stone is actually in a lake behind a temple way to the northwest of the map. The lake is infested with carnivorous fish, but someone also left some dynamite in the water. You shoot the dynamite to kill the fish, and this is one of the ways the game teaches you about how to use dynamite, and then return the real relic to its shrine. The Talon guarding it will tell you that the soldiers will now have less health because they took a hit in their morale from losing the relic. This debuff goes hand in hand with the stopping of risk production after you win Mar over.
Soldiers will be getting weaker, yes?
That's the plan, big guy. That's the plan.
Now that they're softened up, you can attack the storage houses close to the temple, because they also house relics you're meant to place on the other temples that dot the map. In order to find out which essence statue goes to which shrine, you need to talk to another Shamaz, who keeps a stone tablet in a chest in his house in the village, but the key for the chest is missing. So you can either ask Mar to take that chest out in the open and use dynamite on it, but this would require you to find the Essence Stone, So are you starting to see how quests intertwine with one another? You could also just skip that part and blow the chest up in the house, but that'll piss off the Shamaz and he'll remain passive-aggressive with you for the rest of the game. You use a stone tablet to place the statues in their proper order, and this activates the steps in the main temple to rise up to where the Mon is being held. Finally, you can grab the Mon. Make sure you save periodically. Outcast made saving diegetic to the setting by giving you a JO crystal you need to charge up in order to save your progress.
If you are looking for more items, I would like to give you this.
What is it?
This Gamsav is believed to save a Talon's essence when it is held and squeezed in one's hand. When you do this, a strange glow builds inside the Gamsav, and after a few moments it lets out a bright light. This is believed to imprint your essence on the Gamsav, but you cannot move while the light is growing.
Skip it, Chief. This is too much. Say, Zokram, what's with that Gamsav you gave me?
That is your Gamsav. It is a very special piece of Adelpha, and only a few are ever found.
Great. What's it good for?
If you take it in your hand and squeeze it, light and sound from inside the Gamsav grows. When it reaches full power, it will cause a bright flash. That flash is thought to save your essence, in case you are reverted.
Oh, that's different.
Be warned that if you use this near soldiers, that they will hear it and come running. Also, any energy that comes near your Gamsav will disrupt it, and you will have to begin again trying to use it.
How many times can I use it?
I do not think it has a limit, Ulukai.
You still need that fourth statue. You won't find it until you find Narn, the Talon who was working to solve the mystery of the Essence statues before you arrived. You have to ask the local Talon where Narn is, and that involves another series of steps where you have to find his brother. You learn that Narn was working with the Shamaz who owned the stone tablet, but no one knows where he went next. After you activated all the other temples, Narn will walk out of a Daoka located in the main temple. Pro tip, don't go into the Daoka just yet. Narn has a last statue, and you use that to deactivate the fire trap protecting the Mon. It turns out the Mon are the computer boards you were supposed to bring to the malfunctioning probe for your mission. Carter starts getting ideas about what's happened on Adelpha, and this is where the next story beat happens.
That Mon was a computer card. What's going on here?
Are you reading? Anyone hear this?
Wolf? Is that you?
Cutter, thank God someone's alive. Where are the others?
This is all in the starting area, by the way. The rest of the game is just like this. The game's so open-ended that I didn't follow this path to a T. I got enough bullets and assaulted every area the first chance I got. I started with small patrols along the map, and worked my way inward with the storehouses and eventually the Temple Fae dead center in the map. Once I cleared the entire region, I went about finishing the quests in the area. This becomes a recurring theme for my playstyle. After a while, it just becomes standard routine for me to clear the area before doing any actual quests. Combat in Outcast is pretty straightforward. What makes it memorable are the little quirks it has that add up to make a unique experience. When you draw your weapon, a laser will indicate where your shot will go, and you can go into first-person perspective if you want more accurate hits. All of the weapons fire projectiles, and as far as I can tell, there are no hit-scan weapons in 1.1. But that might be different for Cutter's guns in Second Contact. Having projectile weapons encourages running gun combat instead of hunkering down behind cover and taking pot shots. Some firefights felt like I was playing Doom because I was juking between enemy shots while making sure mine were landing on target. When you reach Talonzar, you can find relic merchants selling your gear as holy objects.
Go, get your secret objects.
This is where you get your guns and their upgrades. The cool thing about merchants is that their prices change based on your reputation among the Talon. If you're doing good by them, the prices drop since someone needs to buy any relics to pray to the Yods for protection. If you're a total asshole, the prices rise since people need to look for spiritual relief. I like how it ties game mechanics with character writing, since the merchants get really annoyed if you're too much of a goody two-shoes.
Hurt, frighten, be destructive. What are you doing, Ulukai?
Once you upgrade a weapon, you have the option of switching between which versions you want to use on the fly. And this is pretty handy because some upgrades change how certain weapons will handle. The proximity mine launcher eventually upgrades into a grenade launcher whose shots will detonate on impact. And sometimes you just want to set traps instead of just causing havoc. One of the weapons you can get in the game is a silent sniper rifle that fires tranquilizer rounds. You can knock out enemies, but eventually they'll wake up. You can remedy this by walking up to them and cherry tapping them with a pistol. This is the most powerful attack in the game, because it saves you so much ammo. It's not viable in direct combat, but if you're sneaking around and assaulting the soldiers from afar, it can help you thin out numbers before going full Rambo. There are gadgets you can use during combat to help you out, but 1.1 doesn't really explain what they do. You're going to need to use a PDF manual that comes with the game to tell you which item creates a holographic decoy to distract enemies, and which one is stealth camo. Speaking of which, stealth in Outcast reminds me of stealth in Deus Ex, in that I can't believe it actually works. The soldiers have a very small field of vision, which the Talon addressed in dialogue, and you can crawl along the ground if you're far enough away to avoid detection. You can also use the stealth camo to walk past enemy troops. This is useful for either sneaking into nearby Daukas, or to do some recon so you can see where all the troops and ammo are. You can't pick up items while cloaked, however, so you need to either wait it out or pull out a gun to decloak. While I brought up gadgets, I just want to point out that it wasn't until I was deep into my second contact run that I found that the detonators I've been collecting this whole time were for the dynamite bundles. I kept looking for some kind of C4 equivalent, but no, it's for them. This whole time, I've been leaving them as traps for enemies, and then shooting them with my pistol to detonate. I could have just dropped them there, and then detonated them around the corner, and avoided any blasts. It's really easy to get turned around in Outcast, and Appeal knew this, so they did a couple of things to keep the players oriented. There's a compass overlaid on the top of your screen, so you've always got your bearings. You can ask Talon where to find specific characters, and they'll give you directions based on key landmarks in the area. Depending on how far away the person in question is, the Talon will either tell you directions by saying, "Go northwest of the temple such and such," or if they're close enough, they'll just point to where that person is. It's a cool way to make navigation diegetic to the setting. Shamazar's biggest landmark is the Temple Fey in the center of the map, and that's what all Talon and Shamazar will use as a reference point. Talonzar has the Palace Fey operate on a similar fashion, but it's a bigger area than Shamazar, and since it's a huge market, the town is divided into sections, or box. You can ask the local Talon there which Bach you're in, and you can use the signs to keep track of which Bach is where based on their symbols. Some later quests require you to find a map in a given area, and a Talon will mark key spots for you. You need to match up the landmarks from the paper map to the ones on your HUD. It's a cool way to get you invested in solving the puzzles, but it does run the risk of making the game feel meandering at times. Like I said, I don't plan to go in-depth when it comes to Outcast's story and how it plays out, because I want people just interested enough to try it out. So now I'm going to talk about some moments I found either interesting or obtuse as I played the game. I'll start off with the annoying parts. One of the side quests in Talonzar requires you to fix a well. You're told that there's rocks blocking the bottom, but you can't drop dynamite in there. The solution is to buy your mine launcher from one of the relic merchants and fire a round into the well, which is easier said than done. You'll know you did it if you see a blue flash. Another side quest in Talonzar has a Talon ask you to find a stolen necklace. He talks about a thief and describes the necklace as something with a chain on it, so naturally you're looking for a Talon with a weird thing on its neck. Nope. The necklace is actually on the ground by some buildings on the other side of town. What's more, it's actually hidden by the sand, so unless your HUD picks it up, you're never going to be able to find it. This monster no car was the worst fight in the game. The local hunter tells you to shoot it in the back of the head, but it's only attracted to sound and it will not turn away if you keep moving. But If you stop making any sound for a second, it'll go hide in its pit. You need to walk around to get its attention, use some explosives to distract it, and then hit it with the heaviest gun you have in your kit. I fluked my first kill with it, but subsequent fights were all failures. I had to leave the region, do a side quest to fully upgrade my missile launcher, and then spam it at the back of the fucker's head until it crumpled. It's a tough fight because the game doesn't really do a good job signaling whether an attack did any damage, and the way you'll know it's working is when the monster goes into its death animation. That's just part of why this area is frustrating. The monster's arena closes you in when you enter it, and won't open until you step on all the switches in the arena. Unfortunately, it's a well-known bug in 1.1 that the switches won't always activate the gate and you can get locked in. I got out by making a save after beating the monster and reloading it so that the gates were open from the start. That was legit the worst bug I had experienced in 1.1. In general, Okar is the most disappointing area in Adelpha, because there isn't much to do there compared to the other regions. Hell, there are only 2 friendly Talon here, but it makes sense in the story since it's the most remote and wild region. One of the quests you need to do to find the Mon requires you to find a set of pipes that you have to place on top of a giant wind instrument. You need to speak with the 2 friendly Talon in the area to learn that the notes on the map are in fact musical notes. Who are the only Talon on Adelpha that know about music? These flute players and Talons are, but they all suck at it and sound like 5th graders at a recital. I don't know how the game was expecting me to figure this out, but I had to find that one flute player who didn't sound like shit and ask him to play at the notes. The thing about that, you don't actually need their help. If you pay attention to the map, you'll see 2 symbols are identical. You just need to get to the instrument and arrange the pipes so that they resemble what you see in the map. It's a long, protracted affair that was too obtuse for my liking, and it was the only main quest where I had to look up a walkthrough online to figure out what to do. In spite of all that, the game makes up for it in the end, because I swear, the way this key just pops out of this giant instrument looks like something I'd expect from Banjo-Kazooie. Okay, I'm done venting. Let's talk about the good parts now. This box is out of control, and you need to slow it down with small arms fire. You can either use your pistol or the SMG, but once you slow it down to a moderate speed, you need to time your shots so that you end up killing its momentum instead of adding to it. I'm genuinely surprised Appeal simulated some basic physics of 1.1. This Tanner can't finish his pelt for Feyran because he needs something to glue all the pelts together. When you get to Okasankar, which is the Everglades of Adelpha, one of the fishermen there has a broken boat and asks you to find the seeds of some very aggressive plants that hide in the nearby waters to patch up his leak. Once you finish that quest, you can take more of those seeds over to the Tanner to finish his quest. Being able to solve one quest after seeing the solution to another really makes the adventure aspect of this game shine. He becomes a vendor, which you can sell more seeds to, and another merchant in Talonzar offers a similar service for a particular fruit once you deliver him a batch for a side quest. It's cool to see quests in the area of the game that's a giant market reward you with the means to make more money. I said before that Okar was a disappointing area, but that's also where you can make some serious bank. That fruit vendor from Talonzar will buy 1 piece of fruit for 80 Zorkins. It is stupid easy to get over 100 of those fruit in Okar and sell them all back to the vendor. And since I really didn't need the Zorkins for anything besides ammo, I went to a nearby relic merchant and just stocked up on all my heavy ordnance. You won't be able to complete Talonzar's secondary objective until you help this jackass who's obsessed with getting a sacrificial dagger from some savage tribe in Okar, which is 2 regions away. So when you get there, you learn from the local ANCAP.
Can I see you for a second? You're a big one, aren't you?
For you, Lukai.
That a Shamash was going to investigate the tribe to see if they had the Mon. The dude warns you that they're savage and to tread lightly around them.
What can you tell me about the Ugu Bar?
They are the lower beings that plague my region. Primitive creatures of no intelligence.
Where are they?
They have a camp to the far southeast of the Dauka. But I would not recommend that you visit that area of my region. They do not like visitors.
Yugabad are very hostile, and have been known to sacrifice Talan if they catch them.
They do not like visitors.
I'm blue, I've been deed, I've been died, I've been
Hey, what's going on over there? Oh. Sweet. I saved the Shamaz, and now I can finish Talonzar. Listen to this, Talon.
Zagu. Yes, my name is Zagu. I sell spice.
I'm supposed to use him as well as another merchant to knock out the guards in the Palace Fae, but I already took care of them. One of the Talonzar quests had me return to Shamazar to look for someone's brother. Whenever you clear an area, the Talon resistance start organizing and training across the map. This made it a little hard for me to find the guy.
Can you help me? I'm trying to find Ezef.
You want that Talan there.
Can you help me? I'm trying to find Ezef.
That is him, right there.
Can you help me? I'm trying to find Ezef.
You want that Talan there.
Can you help me? I'm trying to find Ezef.
You want that Talan there.
Are you Ezef?
Yes, Urukai. You need something from me?
Nope, just needed to be able to tell your brother you were alive and kicking is all.
To get the Mon in Okasankar, you need to hire an old hunter to get to an island where a savage monster lurks. You first hear about that monster in Shamazar, but it turned out that one was a fake. But the one in Okasankar is a real deal.
Holy shit! Oru behind you! Oru, no! Son of a bitch!
Don't feel bad, that guy was a dick.
Higher being. Ha! More like scared being. He would probably revert just from seeing the Gorgor.
Oru, no!
Son of a bitch!
Poor Oru. I was almost starting to like the old buzzard.
And now we're playing a Monster Hunter mission. This is a puzzle boss that can screw you over if you weren't paying attention to what happened to Oru's gun. This is also where those weapon upgrades for the grenade launcher come into play. By the way, the Gorgor fight was the worst part of Second Contact for me. Worse than the Akondar in 1.1. The game so far had its issues, but the Gorgor is where it straight up breaks. I picked up Oru's weapon like I did in 1.1, but the Gorgor sometimes sidestep the path of the pellet, which is the whole gimmick to the boss fight, and then immediately goes into its mauling animation. I restarted that fight several times, and honestly I wasn't sure if I could finish the game at that point. It's the one part of the game that makes me second guess recommending Second Contact over 1.1.
What is the matter, Urukai? Are you afraid of boats?
Buddy, I'm a U.S. Navy SEAL. There's nothing with water I can't handle.
I said I wanted the game Second Contact after playing 1.1 to see if there really were an exact remake. So did it work? Kinda. I skipped assaulting the tower and made a beeline for the Essence Stone in the lake. Talking to the guy at the shrine told me that the soldiers were weaker now. I couldn't convince Mar to stop risk production until I took care of the smaller patrol squads that peppered the region.
Detected.
Now that the patrols were gone, I could convince Mar. No risks, weaker soldiers. Then, I cleared the guards surrounding the Dauka by the town, so I could go to Talonzar and find the nearest relic merchant to buy my second weapon, an SMG that ejects what looks like shotgun shells. I cleared Shamazar of any troops, and then I started working on the side quests. There are still things in the game that prevent you from sequence breaking, So you need to talk to specific people to trigger Narn showing up, and convince a smuggler to give you some herb to recover this Shamaz's energy. A slight difference between my runs here is that in 1.1, I had won over enough goodwill among the Talon that Logar was willing to give me the herb, but in Second Contact, I was speedrunning the game, so I hadn't gained enough clout with the Talon when I talked to Logar. This cost me 130 Zorkins for the herb. However, I was able to take a recording ahead of 1.1, and use a stone tablet diagram there to solve the same puzzle in Second Contact before actually getting it in-game. I did that same thing for another side quest in Talonzar with a beggar. He used to work in the mines at Modazar, and sings an old worker's song. He'll ask you to sing along, and you need to find the correct combination of phrases to progress. If you're playing the game legit, the way to learn the song is to go to Modazar and listen to the miners. Turn up the sound effects volume and mute the music volume in the settings to really catch what they're saying.
Metal detected.
Torda fiber sankra, let the mayod ganda, what the koi mai war, labda hulokaya far, ogai ke zadelfa, kata mayod ganda.
If you're gonna cheese it, you can either brute force the answers or watch a recording of the song to catch each phrase. The game will even call you out over this, because Appeal knew this quest was some bullshit.
Dolotai ke zokar.
Milia Koganda.
You sing like stuck Bwana. Todar feba sankra.
Leptomea Ganda.
Oh, you still sound bad. Warta koi mai war.
Lapta Ulukai Afar.
You should know that line. It is about you. Ogae ke zadelfa.
Katamaya Ganda.
That was correct. You have been to the mines of Matazar?
Either that or I got really lucky.
After getting the first mod in Shamazar, I jumped from zone to zone, solving the simpler quests in Talonzar, and clearing out the patrols around there and in Okasankar, so that I could get all the important quest items before reaching the actual quests. Now I'd have the Ugubar dagger ready for Aminel when he asks for it, and I fixed Haze as well before running into him.
Pardon me, buddy.
Say there, Haza. I think I fixed your well.
That was you?
Yep, I threw down some explosives and your well threw up some water. I think it'll be working fine for a while now.
I must say, you have made my life less busy now. To repay you, I would like to give you this.
How's it going?
Are you the Ulakai?
That's what the shirt says.
I am Hesa, and I sell water. Do you want to buy some water?
Getting the Okar early made it so that I could get the Mon there as my second piece, and along the way I managed to clear some easy quests, like repairing the fisherman's boat in Okasankar, which went hand in hand with helping the tanner in Talonzar, since they both required the same item. While I was in Okar, I managed to collect enough fruit to satisfy the fruit merchant's request, and then sold off the excess produce for some fast cash. I wouldn't be able to get Talonzar's Mon until a specific condition happened, so I could prioritize some other areas in the meantime. Once you clear Shamazar, the game really does open up so that you could play it in any order you want besides one area. I could have probably skipped Shamazar and went to Talonzar to get enough weapons to steamroll the Temple Fae if I planned it out differently. Talonzar is set up to be the intended next area, but there's nothing stopping you from using the other two Daokas in Shamazar, besides a heavy presence of stronger than average enemies on the other side of either portal. Again, it's totally possible to approach the game with a different path each run, but Talonzar is always a path of least resistance, not just because of the lack of guards on the other side of the portal, but it's also the only area where you can get your other weapons and their upgrades. How does Second Contact hold up compared to 1.1? It's definitely a visual upgrade, but there are some quirks between both versions that I need to address. One of the big things Outcast was known for at the time was having a really unique modeling style. It was said to use voxel graphics, but that's not entirely true. It used height maps to generate terrain, and it gives the game those iconic environments. If you want to put it bluntly, the game world looks like you're walking around a giant melted candle. That's not a bad thing, it's one of the defining characteristics of the game. Second Contact remade Outcast on Unity. Regardless of how you feel about Unity, it does bring some technical issues to Outcast that weren't there in 1.1. The models look great, even if all the Talon now have a dead look in their eyes. Cutter's model in Second Contact looks a lot younger compared to 1.1, but his animations are a lot stiffer. Cutter in 1.1 may look like an NPC from Deus Ex, but he had more expressive gestures and facial expressions than his HD version.
What could go wrong? Well, let's count. I lost my crew, can't find the probe, my equipment is being used by the natives as rosary beads,
And I have one backpack with my HK P-12 and 30 rounds of ammo. I believe that places this mission somewhere just south of Fubar.
The biggest improvement Second Contact brings to the table is a revamped HUD. When you talk to Talon, the subtitles now provide brief definitions for every unique term in the game, so you don't really need to rely on the lexicon this time. If you're still having trouble locating Talon, you can open up your map to full screen and it gives you the names and roles of every unique Talon on the map. You can even see your reputation with every Talon as you approach them, instead of having to ask the Shamaz about public opinion.
How do all Talon feel about me?
There is no real way of saying if they think you are doing well or not.
If you're a new player, I definitely say get Second Contact because of how friendly it is to newcomers. Bear in mind that there's a few things that Second Contact tweaked compared to 1.1. The most notable change is how Cutter controls. Cutter can now sprint in Second Contact. It uses up his stamina, and if you overdo it, you can lose some health. This makes traveling across the Delta a lot better, and almost makes the Twanha obsolete. Twanha are the local beasts of burden. I was able to get 3 by endgame through missions and buying one off the local animal nut. They cut down travel time in 1.1, but Cutter had such a long mounting animation that I just preferred plodding across the maps with my stubby legs. Cutter's jump has been modified so that instead of having naturally mad ups, his backpack provides a small propulsion thrust from the bottom to justify his high jumps. It makes his jumping a lot floatier than in 1.1. Something I definitely missed from 1.1 is the ability to adjust the camera's follow distance, so that you could either have an over-the-shoulder perspective for tight spaces, or a wide shot when you were traveling. Speaking of which, the camera has been overhauled for combat. There's no longer a first-person view, because aiming with your equipped weapon now gives you an over-the-shoulder sight picture that's a blend of 1.1's aiming styles. You get the same over-the-shoulder angle when you're looking through your backpack, and you can tell it's inspired by Dead Space. I'm not a fan of Second Contact's aiming. The camera hugs too close to Cutter now, and gives you tunnel vision, which is the last thing you need for this kind of shooting. Also, Cutter just doesn't seem as maneuverable as he does in the remaster, but that might be due to energy shots moving faster than they did in 1.1, and Cutter steering like a tank now when his weapon is up. These small changes actually reveal another issue both versions of the game have, but it's made more evident because of the tweaks in Second Contact. There's no visual tell when an enemy is going to attack, besides the blast of energy coming from their weapon. They don't take a moment to steady themselves before lining up a shot. The shots just sprout from their weapons while they stagger about. This wasn't a big deal in 1.1, since again, the projectiles were just slow enough to juke around without putting much thought into it. But in Second Contact, they moved just fast enough where I ended up running into their paths instead of avoiding them, because I was still operating on 1.1's timing. Crouching in Second Contact, that makes you go into a crouch walk instead of going full prone and crawling on the ground. You can move faster here than in 1.1, and it actually helped me avoid detection in some instances, and go into aiming mode without having to stand up. Another quirk of crouching between 1.1 and Second Contact is that when you crawled in shallow water in 1.1, It would drain your oxygen, but that's no longer an issue in Second Contact. Some swimming areas in 1.1 were impossible to climb out of unless you reached a set of steps. In Second Contact, you can jump onto low enough shores and avoid any sandcar bites. Firefights feel a lot more hectic in Second Contact because the projectiles seem to travel at a faster pace here than in 1.1. I get that it's meant to make gameplay look a lot more intense compared to the older version, but I think it discourages the more cavalier style of combat I was doing in 1.1. There's a bit of delay when you're switching weapons, and it can give you a panic attack when you're in the middle of a firefight and stop dead in your tracks to switch to your pistol. In Second Contact, the grenade launcher now has an arc that gives you a better idea where your shots will go. And even though the enemy projectiles move faster, and I swear they have a slight homing ability, the sniper pistol technique is actually viable in combat now. Also, headshots definitely deal more damage than body shots, and can even one-shot the guards on post. Enemies now have markers placed over their heads. They do a better job at showing the player their alert status compared to 1.1, and now they make combat even easier. Since they're always on, you don't need to take your eyes away from the screen and check on the map in the lower right to see their positions. Some changes aren't as welcome as others, but there's an auto-target that's on by default. It's handy for when you want to shoot dynamite next to some enemies, but I think it gets in the way of the run and gunning. Personally, I want my bullets to hit where I'm pointing at. Outcast 1.1 had some issues as well. By default, you get Steam achievement alerts, and they will block you from seeing the map. This doesn't sound like a bad thing until you see how frequently they pop up. They happen every time you kill a soldier, and that's when you need to rely on the map the most, since you need to see if they're going to flank you from the side. Turn that off before you start a game. I kept them on for a while since they were, ironically enough, the easiest way to tell if I had gotten a kill, since all the enemies like to show you their impression of the dying Gaul as they revert, and the map keeps them on as red dots until they finally stop moving. Sadly, the enemies in Second Contact don't have the same theatrical tendencies and just ragdoll when they go down. Comparing enemy deaths in both versions feels like watching two action films from different eras. One's from the old days, where the studios couldn't show blood or gore, so they had to sell to the audience that a character died through the actor's motions. The other film's more modern, and has no qualms showing a character go limp when they get shot in the face. 1.1 is a spaghetti western, and Second Contact is a Scorsese flick. There's not much else I want to talk about Outcast, besides which version you should get. If you're interested in the game, but really want some modern conveniences, get Second Contact. If you want to see how the game was like when it came out in '99, get 1.1. It's closer to the original game, but with widescreen support. Just know that I've had issues quitting out in the game, because it always goes to the credit screen and trying to escape out of it causes a crash. However, you can't avoid that by going into the Steam menu and closing the game there. But the game still crashed for me when I beat it, so that's a thing to consider. If you'd rather watch a playthrough of Outcast, there's a link to an entire Let's Play of the game on archive.com that I'll put in the description. Just know that it's got subtitle commentary if you're not a fan of heavy reading. Personally, I prefer 1.1 over Second Contact. SC really improved the HUD and looks better overall, but it feels like it chugs more than 1.1 for me. I am running the settings on Ultra, but my computer seems like it's handling it fine. The game said it's running on 60, but I'm really not sure about that. Just before getting the SMG, I dialed my settings down to normal. I didn't see any obvious downgrades to the graphics, but the game ran a lot smoother after I did that. Playing both versions back to back gives me the same experience as playing the Secret of Monkey Island Special Edition. I can switch back and forth between each art style, and the modern style has more features to ease in new players. No matter which version you play, it's an experience, and I hope Appeal are finally able to make that sequel they tried to do before they went bankrupt years ago.
I hate foreplay. Let's start slamming.
Please, play Outcast.
You're a big one, aren't you?
You, little guy.